Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning,
Good
sir.
morning.
Morning, sir.
Very good morning to all of you. Just give me a few minutes. All right. All right. Okay. So, in our last class, we saw ways to infuse genes into cells, right? You could do, commonly when it comes to bacterial cells, transformation is the easiest method by which you can introduce a foreign gene into an bacteria, right? Some bacteria are normally competent. That means you take the bacteria, incubate with your plasmid DNA, it will automatically take it up. Some bacteria are not very transformable, so you treat them with certain chemicals like calcium chloride, and then give a heat shock, brief heat shock, and then they will take up the foreign DNA. That is typically what happens with E. coli, right, which is one of the laboratory workhorse, right, for all routine molecular biology experiments, right. Bacillus, which is not used in the laboratory experiments, has this natural ability to take up DNA. Okay, not all strains of Bacillus, but certain strains of Bacillus have this ability to take up DNA from the environment. On the other hand, bacteria like E. coli, you need to treat them with calcium chloride, or you could do electroporation, right, where it briefly, it creates holes, and then the DNA gets into the cell. So we saw a couple of techniques, but when it comes to yeast, instead of calcium chloride, people use lithium chloride for some reason. Saccharomyces cerevisiae, the same transformation happens with lithium chloride instead of calcium chloride. And when it comes to mammalian cells, calcium phosphate, there are a few other methods that were used in the beginning, but then people realized that you could do electroporation, especially the nucleofiction, which is the latest technology, is the best. Even in the cell lines, even in certain cell lines which are very, very recalcitrant, or which are very resistant to taking up foreign DNA, this process of nucleofiction, or nucleofiction is just a name of the technology. You can introduce foreign genes. You can also introduce foreign genes from nucleofiction. Basically involves an instrument called nucleofector, along with certain specialty reagents. But in certain cell lines which can easily be transformed. Okay, people don't call it as transformation in mammalian cells, because in mammalian cells, the moment you say cells is transformed, it means it is probably going to become cancerous. So we don't call it as transformation. Okay, so each person, by and large, there is a consensus that when we call transformation, it generally means bacterial transformation. And when you talk about things like introducing genes into foreign cells, then it generally doesn't. People don't call it as a transformed cell. People only call it as a recombinant cell. Okay. So recombinant is something that is not, common, so we could say recombinant bacteria, you could say recombinant cell, it doesn't matter. People then understand recombinant is something that there is something extra in this compared to the wild type cell. Okay, wild type bacteria, or normal mammalian cell versus this cell which has these new genes. Okay. Okay. So it turns out that Ritu, I am in a class. Can I call you later? So it turns out that these technologies, uh, in the beginning, the question was why should we be, interested in introducing a foreign gene? What advantage are we going to get? Then the era of recombinant DNA technology came into existence, right? People thought E. coli is the workhorse, so why should we be worried about mammalian cell or any other cell line? Then people realized that E. coli is a very good model system, but then unfortunately there are certain proteins which you cannot express in E. coli. You have to necessarily use yeast or other mammalian systems. So then it became, so how do we make sure that this transfection, this is called as, what is called as transformation for bacterial cell is called as transfection in for mammalian cell. How do we make transfection more efficient, more effective, so that a variety of cell lines can be, targeted? So it became, research by itself. People have developed several different technologies, several different combinations of reagents to make sure that there is an efficient transfer of foreign gene into the any cell type that you want, it is possible. Okay. People very soon realize that this can have applications, wide variety of applications. So that is what we are going to talk in today's class. Okay. As part of this thing, let us start with a simple-minded exercise. Okay. Let me share my slide. Okay, so here we go. I hope the slides are visible.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so you have a normal cell and you have a cancer cell. Okay, if you look at it, the nucleus is the same, right? This has 46 chromosome. Cancer cell also has 46 chromosome from either parents, right? And it is normal cell has transcribed and has made certain messenger RNAs. A cancer cell also has transcribed and made certain messenger RNAs. Okay. What do you see the difference between a normal cell and a cancer cell is the presence of this particular messenger RNA. It is cancer cell is producing one extra messenger RNA. Okay. Suppose let's say we need to target this messenger RNA alone. How can we do that? We want to target only that particular messenger. There are a lot of suggestions that this messenger RNA, if you get rid of it from the cell can revert back to probably a normal phenotype. Or let us say this brown messenger RNA is what is responsible for making a normal cell into a cancer cell. How can we how can we how can we do that? How can we stop only the brown messenger RNA? How can we target only the brown messenger RNA in cancer cell? See, this is not present in normal cell. It is present only in cancer cell. And we need to develop technologies so that this particular RNA can be targeted. Any ideas? What can we do? And people found out that this is the sequence of this messenger RNA, the brown color messenger RNA. This is the sequence. Okay. So I've given you enough clue. Let's just think how can we do this? How can we target just this particular messenger RNA? Any ideas? Okay. I thought by now some people would have spoken. Okay. Let's just say that so this is the sequence of this messenger RNA. So this is called as a sense strand. This is called as every messenger message is sensible message, right? Because the moment you introduce a nonsense codon into this becomes, it stops it, right? So every message is a sense message, okay? Suppose I come in with an oligo sequence, which binds to this, okay, which binds to this and make this as a double-stranded one. What will happen? So this is the sequence, right? I come with an antisense. Okay, so this, because this messenger RNA is sense, this is called as antisense. Okay, so you have, as we all know, this is a eukaryotic messenger RNA. It is carrying a stretch of poly-A's. So I have a stretch of poly-T's followed by a complementary sequence to this. Okay, it turns out that this was a very powerful tool. Antisense technology turned out to be a very powerful tool, and you can go very specifically make antisense RNA. Antisense RNA is going to bind only and only to this one. Okay, because the sequences are specific for each of these messenger RNAs. Okay, you can target very clearly only the brown messenger RNA. Unfortunately or fortunately, things are not that simple. Cancer cell has not one particular messenger RNA overexpressed. It has several hundreds of messenger RNAs that are overexpressed. Okay, so in reality, for example, when you have for example, say, people are infected with, say, HIV, people are infected with, say, some other virus. It's a lot simpler because you can take, one of the essential genes that is there for the viral replication, and you can target that, and the virus will not be able to replicate. So it turned out to be a very, very nice mechanism. Okay, so antisense turned out to be a fairly good mechanism. People showed that it works in the laboratory. Unfortunately, when we go to the clinic, delivering this antisense oligonucleotide turns out to be a major challenge. Okay, people face a lot of difficulties. How do we, deliver this antisense to something that is, say, for example, some deep-rooted cancer. Suppose it is in some remote part of the body. How do we make sure that the RNA goes to that place, right? So it had a lot of technical challenges, okay, and somehow things didn't work out as well. But now in the last maybe 2-3 years, the technology is picked up. So typically, if you see in biological sciences, somebody discovers something, somebody applies something, a new technology is discovered, and then from the lab to get it into the clinic, right? And for practical application, it takes a while. Either the technology is immature, or the technology needs several other additional supports which are not there. And this waited for almost like 30 years or maybe more than 30 years, and now people have developed technologies whereby you can have localized delivery. Okay, so people have done that, but it is still in the experimental realm. It has not yet come into the clinic, but it is likely to come into the clinic in about a decade or so. Okay, now it turned out that antisense was a good thing, but somebody just out of curiosity, did something unusual. Okay, what they did was to take this double strand, this double strand region, okay, and introduced it into a cell. Wow. Then they realized that they have discovered or they have stumbled onto something. This was called as post-transcriptional gene silencing. So this was discovered in plants for the first time. Okay, somebody did this, introduced a double-stranded RNA, and found out that it could be RNA, DNA, DNA, DNA. It doesn't matter. All it needs is complementary to the messenger RNA, right? So they found out that this resulted in what is called as PTGS, or post-transcriptional gene silencing. Post-transcriptional, okay? So this is something that happens after the transcription. So PTGS, or post-transcriptional gene silencing, when it was observed in plants, as we all know, the plant sciences, animal sciences, they are like into opposite domains, right? So people didn't really pay much attention until somebody said, hey, can we do this in, any other system and find out what happened? So Craig Mello, Andrew Fire, these two scientists did this for C. elegans, which is a small nematode worm, which is used for as a model system. Okay, they did that in C. elegans and found out that it works beautifully. You can take the double stranded. So supposing this is the gene, you can make double strand to any part of the gene. It could be at the 5' end, it could be at the middle, it could be at the end. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. So all you need is, part of this unique messenger RNA, which is different between, say, two different cell lines. Make a double strand of that and introduce that into that cell. This gene can be knocked out very specifically. Just only that particular gene, the expression of that gets affected. Okay. So we will look at a short video from Nature, so this process was called as RNA interference. Okay. And it turns out to be a very, very powerful tool. Andrew Fire and Craig Mello were awarded Nobel Prize for discovering RNA interference. Okay, unfortunately, people discovered this in plants, but as we all know, the Nobel Prize doesn't go for, it's meant for medicine or physiology. It is not meant for plant sciences. So it is unfortunate, but we have to respect what the Nobel Foundation mandate is, right? Nobel Foundation mandate is on Nobel Prize for Physiology or Medicine, Nobel Prize for Chemistry, Nobel for Physics, Nobel for Economics, Nobel for Literature, right? And Nobel for Peace Prize, right? So, unfortunate, but the thing is, these guys also deserve all the the award, because they didn't brush aside, between PTGS, which was discovered in plants, and by the time Craig Mello and Andrew Fire, discovered this, several years had passed. Nobody had even thought of it. These guys thought of it. They did the experiment and they proved that it turns out to be a very, very powerful tool. Now they did several neat things, right? You can do this double-stranded DNA. Okay, you can have this on a plasmid. You can feed E. coli, and E. coli is going to express this double-stranded DNA, which has no relevant function in E. coli. Okay, but when the nematode, when C. elegans takes up that E. coli, which is expressing this, and when it digests this E. coli, right? E. coli, the moment it's lysed, it's going to express all this double-stranded DNA, and this double-stranded DNA can interfere with normal cellular processes. Okay, so it turned out to be a very, very powerful tool. Okay, and then people started understanding the mechanisms. So there are certain specific protein complexes that are involved. And out of this double-stranded DNA, one strand acts as a passenger DNA, it gets degraded, whereas another set called the guide strand is the one that is taken up by the enzyme, goes in search for homology, and it specifically, binds only to closely related genes. Okay. Now it turns out to be another issue here, because when you talk about mammalian genome, there are lots of closely related genes, right? There are lots of closely related genes. In fact, there are several genes for which there are like 25 families, 30 families, one of the enzymes or one of the cytokines that you will, listen in your immunology classes, TNF alpha and tumor necrosis factor alpha. This has a receptor on the cells, and TNF receptors can be like, it's a super gene family. There are about at least 12 to 20 different receptors on different cell types, and all of them share a lot of homology. Okay, so it turns out that making this very, very gene specific, it is possible, right? People have done it, and but initially this entire process was not understood. Okay, and so now we know how this process works. Okay, so we'll look at a short video from Nature, which is one of the premier journals which brings out the research. Okay, um, this is also the same journal where Watson and Crick published their 1953 paper on the double-stranded nature of DNA helix. Okay, so we will look at that, and then we will look at a short lecture which talks about this process. Um, Let me share that video. Okay. Is it audible?
Yes, sir, it's audible.
Okay. So this was the person who got the Nobel Prize and his colleague. Okay.
Scientists have been making rapid progress in understanding RNA interference, or RNAi. Many organisms use RNAi to control genes, and it can also be used as a tool in the laboratory, and in the future perhaps as a therapy. This animation will introduce you to the principles of RNAi involving two important types of RNA molecule, small interfering RNAs and microRNAs. Eukaryotic cells have many sophisticated ways of controlling gene expression. In the complex environment of a cell, these mechanisms need to be precisely targeted. There's a group of mechanisms that use small RNA molecules to direct gene silencing. This is called RNAi. Inside the nucleus, most genes that encode proteins are transcribed by RNA polymerase II. The primary RNA transcript is processed by splicing and forms a mature messenger RNA, sometimes called mRNA. The messenger RNA is then exported from the nucleus into the cytoplasm. Here, ribosomes catalyze translation of the messenger RNA to form polypeptide chains that fold into proteins. But this is also where some small RNA molecules can have their silencing effects. There are several types of regulatory small RNA. Small interfering RNAs, known as siRNAs, are derived from longer double-stranded RNAs that are either produced in the cell itself or are delivered into cells experimentally. The introduction of siRNAs, or double-stranded RNA, is widely used to manipulate gene expression. MicroRNAs are another type of small RNA. Most microRNAs come from RNAs that are transcribed in the nucleus, which then fold and are processed before being exported into the cytoplasm as double-stranded precursor microRNAs. The double-stranded precursors of microRNAs and siRNAs bind to dicer, which is an endonuclease protein that cuts the RNA into short segments. Most siRNAs and microRNAs are approximately 21 nucleotides long. The short double-stranded RNA then binds an Argonaute protein. One strand of the RNA is selected and remains bound to Argonaute. This is called the guide strand. The combination of the RNA and Argonaute, along with other proteins, is called the RNA-induced silencing complex, or RISC. siRNAs direct RISC to bind to specific messenger RNAs. The targeting is precise because it's determined by base pairing between the siRNA and the target messenger RNA. siRNAs often have perfect complementarity to their target sites. Once bound, Argonaute catalyzes cleavage of the messenger RNA, which will then be degraded. MicroRNAs also guide RISC to messenger RNAs. Usually only part of a microRNA, known as the seed, pairs with a target messenger RNA. This imprecise matching allows microRNAs to target hundreds of endogenous messenger RNAs. Targeting by a microRNA can lead to messenger RNAs being degraded or translation being inhibited. Argonauts and their small regulatory RNA cofactors are found in plants, animals, fungi, and some bacteria, and their importance in a multitude of biological processes and as tools continues to be revealed.
All right, very short video, but nevertheless very informative video. So typically what happens is when you introduce your double-stranded RNA, a protein called dicer, comes in, and it recognizes that, which is soon taken over by a protein called argonaut, okay, which unopens or unwinds, sorry, not unopens, it unwinds the double-stranded RNA and takes the guide strand, and all the ribonucleases in the cell will chew up the other strand, okay, takes the guide strand and make sure that it hybridizes to the corresponding messenger RNA. And this complex of argonaut and dicer is called as RISC, or RNA-induced silencing complex. Okay, and that is what results in the degradation of the messenger RNA. Once the messenger RNA is degraded, obviously, it is going to have an effect on the cell. For example, when we talked about this hypothetical case of one messenger RNA being extra in a cancer cell, all you need to do is to design a double-stranded oligo, for that particular messenger RNA, which is in excess, and introduce that, and the rest of it is taken care by the cell, right? So this works beautifully in the in vitro system, where you do experiments in cell lines. It seems to work very well, but it is still a far reality in the clinic. Okay, when RNAi was discovered, there was a lot of hopes that this will get rid of cancer, for example. All we need to know is what is the difference between a normal cell and a cancer cell, and then make the RNAi work in cancer cell, and boom, you are going to get rid of cancer. It turns out that it is not the case. We are still far away from curing cancer. Okay. So let's listen to this short lecture on RNA interference. Okay.
That level, that is called a translational level. So protein synthesis can be regulated, can be managed. And third is called as post-translational regulation. So means once you have got the messenger RNA, then messenger RNA had to be degraded. If I don't want a protein, messenger RNA will be degraded. Yeah, messenger RNA will be inactivated. So that is called as post-translation. So when we are going to regulate at transcription level, this can be either changing the rate of transcription, means it will be faster or it will be slower. Then stability of messenger RNA, these two are normally part of transcription regulations. Change in the translation rate, means protein synthesis speed, that will be translational regulations. And messenger RNA will be protein will be inactivated or degraded, that is this one. So which we are going to see today now, that is called RNA interference. Means we are going to regulate at RNA level. Once RNA has been produced, RNA has been formed, then we are going to regulate it. So RNA interference is nothing, it is a biological process where RNA molecule is going to involve. So this regulation is done by RNA itself. So we are having RNA molecule which is going to participate in the regulation process. So done by RNA, and inhibits the gene expressions or the translation. Translation means protein synthesis. So we have got messenger RNA, and this messenger RNA is going to be regulated at this level. So this will give me protein or not protein, that is regulated by this RNA. So we are having normally two types of proteins, regulatory proteins normally we will have see. That is miRNA and siRNA. वो हम आते हैं, we are coming there. So that normally this regulatory process RNA interference involves, it includes all those RNA which is coming from the virus or some transposons. Transposon means jumping genes, which normally called the mutations. So this transposons we will see after this one. So once we will finish, then we will go for transposons. So any RNA which comes from virus or any RNA which normally we are getting from the transposons will be regulated by RNA interference. RNA interference is nothing; it is a process which is regulated by RNA molecule itself, not by the same RNA, but by different RNA. So a different RNA molecule regulate the gene expression at messenger RNA levels. That is called as RNA interference. Definition समझ में आ गया?
Yes, sir.
So for this RNA interference works, two scientists have just recently got the Nobel Prize in 2006. Work was probably in 1980s, 1990s, but they have got Nobel Prize in 2006, and that is Andrew Fire and C. Mello. They work for nematodes, that is Caenorhabditis elegans, C. elegans normally we are calling it. This RNA interference process normally we are using number of places. We are using as a protein synthesis, gene regulations for some kind of treatment, some disease, some vaccine development, number of processes we are using this RNA interference. The reason why we are going to use this process for number of places is because of this, the size nature. It is going, complementary binding will be there. So it will bind only to the place where we want. So that is precise, efficient, stable, and it is better than another technique that is called antisense RNA. So whatever you want to, you have to remember it. This technique is more precise because of complementary binding, because it will be binding to form a hybrid, forming a double-stranded structures. So it is stable also. So that's why this is better technology than the other technology. Okay. Normally in our body, except tRNA or some ribosomal RNA, normally no messenger RNA we are having which is double-stranded. In हमारे body में normally messenger RNA we don't have which is double-stranded. So whenever a double-stranded messenger RNA we get, it means it is a foreign messenger RNA. So body tries to degrade it, body tries to remove it. So that's why any double-stranded RNA coming from the virus will be degraded by this process. So there are two ways RNA interference we are going to use. One as a defense mechanism, where it will be defense against the viruses. I have already told you whenever a virus comes with their RNA as a genetic material, this RNA will be treated as foreign particles, and that will be damaged, going to be degraded by this RNA interference. So that is a defense mechanism against virus. Second one is genome-wide regulations, regulation of different genes, where we are going to use for different purposes, gene expression regulations. So one regulate the gene regulations, gene expression regulation. Thing that we are going to see it. This is roughly present in almost all the eukaryotes. Some of the examples are it is present in fungus, trypanosomes, insects, zebrafish, mice, humans. So mostly almost all the eukaryotes it is present. There are different components which is going to involve in this process. So this slide is a little bit more important for you. You need to remember each and every point in this one, especially name and their functions. First two is two small ribosomal RNA we are going to use, that is miRNA and siRNA. It is microRNA and a small interfering RNA. Probably these two RNA we have studied during our when I was talking about RNA, synthesis, transcription process. That time I had a table where different RNA was there and what is the use of all those RNAs. tRNA, messenger RNA, ribosomal RNA, siRNA, miRNA, then hnRNA. याद है?
Yes, sir.
So this miRNA and siRNA are two important RNA which is normally we are going to see in this process. These two RNA are the main RNA which is involved in this process. Later on, they are going to form some complex also that is called as RISC. RISC means RNA induced silencing complex. RISC, RNA induced silencing complex. Normally, this is the complex which ultimately do this damage to the messenger RNA. And then in the process, some of the enzymes we are going to use it. Two important enzymes are, one is called as dicer enzymes, other one is called as DROSA enzymes. So these are the two different enzymes which is going to be involved in this process. आपको लिखना है तो आप लिख लीजिए 5 things I have told you: miRNA, siRNA, RISC, dicer, and DROSA. Other than this one, number of other proteins and other complexes, other enzymes are also going to involve, but we will see only these 4-5 things. तो पहले मैं पिक्चर दिखाता हूँ. What happens? This is a double-stranded RNA. Double-stranded RNA or any RNA which is having a hairpin loop. This RNA, this is the basic picture. Then we will go for a little bit complicated picture. So this, any RNA which is double-stranded or any RNA which is having a hairpin loop-like structure, it is going to be digested by dicer enzymes. Just now we have seen dicer enzymes here. This produces this digest messenger RNA and gives you 20 to 21 nucleotide long fragments. So RNA will be digested and gives you 20 to 21 nucleotide long fragments. So this is done by dicer. In this fragment, whatever RNA fragment we are going to get, that is 20 to 21 nucleotide long. In that one, 2 strands will be there. One strand we are calling it parent passenger strands, other one is called as guide strands. Okay? Passenger strands will be slowly digested, it will be degraded. Only guide strand will be left out. This is guide strands. So passenger strands we have digested here by some enzyme complex. One of the important enzyme complex which digests this passenger strands is AGO. Its full form is Argonaute 2. मैं आता हूँ इस पे. This slide I will show it to you. This is the explanation of that picture only. So passenger strands will be digested by this enzyme complex Argonaute 2. Then only guide strands which is associated with this enzyme complex will be there. So all together some other components comes and forms a complex that is called as RNA induced silencing complex, RISC. And then which is complementary to the guide strands. So this is RNA, means this is, in this case this is siRNA. Similar process is going to occur in miRNA also. So here it is having another complex that is called as RISC. RISC means RNA induced silence gene silencing complex. So that is a RNA. Here it is siRNA. It is complementary to the guide strands. So we are having guide strands. We are having a RISC complex which is complement. In RISC complex we are having siRNA. This siRNA is complementary to guide strands. So once it will be associated, it will link together, and it will be again it will be fragmented digested. This is the basic process. So what happens? We are having a double-stranded RNA. This double-stranded RNA will be recognized by a specific enzyme that is called as dicer enzymes. This dicer enzymes digest it into a small fragment that is roughly to 20 to 21 nucleotide long. In that fragments, one of the strands is called as passenger strands, other strand is called as guide strands. Passenger strands will be digested by an enzyme complex that is called as Argonaute 2. Then guide strands will be left out. This guide strands combines with an enzyme complex components that is called as RISC. RISC means RNA induced silencing complex. In this RISC, one of the component is siRNA. So siRNA of RISC is complementary with the guide strands. So this is going to combine together and this will be ultimately digested. This is basic process. Anyone have any issue? If you didn't understand, tell me. Then I will go for that text part. समझ में? Hello.
Yes, sir. Clear.
Yes, sir.
So in this text, the same thing is written there. It is, just one second. It is initiated by the enzyme dicer, which cleaves the long double-stranded RNA molecules into short double-stranded fragment of roughly 20 to 21 nucleotide molecules. ठीक है यहाँ तक?
Yes, sir.
This siRNA unwound into two single-stranded RNA. One of the strands is called as passenger strand, other one is called as guide strands. The passenger strands is degraded, and the guide strands is incorporated with a complex that is called as RISC, which one of the component is Argonaut 2. Okay, that this RISC complex ultimately digests, which, so we are having a guide strands. This is having a complementary messenger RNA, complementary siRNA, and this is having a complex that is called as RISC. RISC means it is having a number of components. One of the component is this enzyme, Argonaut 2. So it digests, it degrades RNA into a small fragments which will be degraded. So messenger RNA will not go for protein synthesis. This is normally how this process works. ठीक है?
Yes, sir.
This is same thing, same pictures. This is double-stranded RNA, which is having recognized by dicer enzymes. So double-stranded RNA is cleaved by dicer into 21 to 20, means roughly 21 base pair long siRNA molecules. This is siRNA. One strands will be passenger, other one will be guide strands. This combines with RISC. RISC means a complex which is going to silence, which is going to modify it. One of the component of this RISC is Argonaut 2. That is an enzymatic complex. Argonaut 2 means it is having ribonuclease enzymes. It degrades RNA. So this enzymes degrade, combines, form a complementary strands with this guide strands and ultimately degrade it. So messenger RNA will be fragmented, and lastly complex will dissociate.
So actually, this single strands, they can also be picked up by this RISC complex, and they can go in search for closely related genes, and that is how it systematically spreads. Okay, although we start with targeting a specific messenger RNA, regions of the messenger RNA can have homology. As I said, TNF alpha receptors, they're all closely related. It's a super gene family. They are closely related. So even though you may have targeted receptor 1 has homology to, almost all the 20 receptors, varying amounts, right? So if it takes a certain region which is common to all of them, you may end up targeting or, disrupting all the 20 receptors, which may not be the right thing to do, right? You may probably want to stop the expression of just one particular receptor, but then because it shares, the homology is shared for the sequence, it might spread. And so this is called a spreading of RNAi, okay, which we have, people have developed technologies to limit this spread.
Second is whatever we have seen it, that is siRNA involvement. Second one is mini RNA. This is again genetically encoded. Almost process will be the same. अभी picture पहले दिखा देता हूँ, then we will talk about. Same process, everything will be same. Normally in our case, this is a cell. In this cells we are having nucleus. Normally messenger RNA will be synthesis occurs inside the nucleus. ये आपको पता है कि messenger RNA synthesis occurs inside the nucleus. So RNA synthesis happens in nucleus. One of the enzyme proteins you can call it, that is called as exportin 5. This is a protein, this is a transporter which helps. So a protein called exportin transports a primary microRNA, miRNA components out of the nucleus. So from nucleus it's coming to the cytoplasm. Inside cytoplasm, this is going to be recognized by dicer enzyme, same as happens in siRNA. This dicer enzyme digests it, degrades it, which you are seeing here. It is degradation. ठीक है?
Sir, repeat
Yes,
the
sir.
number.
मैं दोबारा रिपीट कर देता हूँ. In this case, first all the RNA, whatever RNA, mini RNA, micro RNA, HNRNA, messenger RNA, everything synthesis occurs inside the nucleus in our case, because we are having transcription occurs inside the nucleus. So miRNA also happens, synthesis occurs inside the nucleus itself. From nucleus, this silencing process occurs inside the cytoplasm. So RNA, miRNA or siRNA has to come to the cytoplasm. For this one, we are having a transporter molecule that is called as exportin 5, which helps in the transport of this microRNA transcript, microRNA, which is normally you can call it inactive. That is primary transcript means inactive. This is going to be active once dicer enzymes going to digest it, degrade it. So it will be degraded to 20 to 25 nucleotide long fragments similar to siRNA जो हमने पहले देख चुका है उसी तरह से. So it digests and ultimately gives you microRNA duplex, double stranded. ठीक है यहाँ तक?
Yes, sir.
In this microRNA also similar to your siRNA, one strand is called as passenger strands, other strand is called as guide strands. Passenger strands, so whatever enzymes you are seeing with that patch-like structures, those are different proteins, that is ergo not two proteins or of risk का या RNA induced silencing complex का, that is ergo not two protein है. So this protein combines with the passenger strands and degrades them. So ultimately you will have guide strands and those proteins will be left because passenger strands has been degraded. ठीक है? Similar to siRNA.
Yes, sir.
But how they recognize passenger strands, how they will degrade the guide strands, that process is not very clear. Means how they recognize one of the strands, other strands will be left out, that we don't know. Then that guide strands is going to combine with the main messenger RNA, which is present in the cytoplasm. So it combines either into the plant cell or animal cell. जहाँ भी हम बात करेंगे, it is going to combine together and ultimately digest it, degrades it. In case of plant cells, the microRNA usually preferably complementary to its target messenger RNA molecules. The microRNA will bind with it and cause the messenger RNA to break down. Same thing. In case of our case, in animal cells, the microRNA nucleotides typically don't pair with the mRNA nucleotides as well. So pairing will be very well in case of plant cells. That pairing is not very effective, very efficient in case of human cells or in animal cells. So once it will be paired either very good or very bad, like animal cell it is not that much good pairing, complementary. In case of plant cells it is very good pairing. This is going to do one thing, deadenylation. Deadenylation means at the 3' end of messenger RNA we are having poly A tail. So poly A tail, the function of poly A tail was the protection. It gives the protections. So this bonding associations removes those poly A tail. So deadenylation occurs. Once deadenylation occurs, RNA will be digested, it will be degraded, and messenger RNA will be chopped down into a small fragments. This is deregulation. समझ में आया? Any question? The process is almost
Sir,
same.
repeat again.
Both siRNA and mRNA process is almost same. Not too much differences. डिफरेंस कहाँ है वो मैं बताता हूँ. In case of what we have seen in case of siRNA was either you had a viral DNA RNA, double-stranded RNA, or we had a kind of hairpin loop-like structures. So that will be degraded into small fragments, right? In case of miRNA, we are getting a specialized RNA from the nucleus. आप जो difference देखेंगे वो मैं बताता हूँ. Sorry. The difference I will tell you, then you will understand. Process is almost same. In case of siRNA, this is viral RNA or the hairpin loop DNA, which is having hairpin loop. So this RNA will be degraded into a small piece. That is called as siRNA. And this degradation occurs by Dicer enzyme. Okay? This fragmented RNA, double-stranded RNA will have two strands. One is passenger, one is guide. In case of miRNA, we are not having, this is not the viral RNA. miRNA is the product of our own gene. हमारे gene का product है, which synthesis, whose production occurs inside the nucleus, and then with this X-protein 5 transporter, it comes into the cytoplasm, and there it will be degraded and give you passenger and the guide strands. That is the difference. Rest remaining everything will be the same. Hello?
Yes, sir.
डिफरेंस समझ में आया? मैंने क्या बोला? In case of siRNA, we are having either viral double-stranded RNA, or we are having a hairpin loop formed RNA in our body.
So we will continue with that. So two kinds of RNAs are very common. One is called as a short hairpin RNA. Most of the tRNAs have a clover leaf-like pattern, right? But whenever cellular machinery sees double-stranded RNA, it gets activated. Okay. And except for tRNA, anything else that has this structure, okay, the machinery gets activated. As we see in this lecture, you have short interfering RNAs, okay, and you also have short hairpin RNAs. Both of them are double-stranded by nature. Short hairpins are, there are regions where there is no complementarity, so they form a hairpin. And then the rest of the region is perfectly complementary, so it forms a base pair. Okay, so both these have the ability to induce RNAi process. Okay, and this, as I said, it is being harnessed. It is being harnessed for treating certain diseases. Okay, it is kind of early. Although they got this Nobel Prize way back in 2006, for a discovery that was done in the late 90s, it has not yet translated into clinic. But as I said, there are significant challenges in terms of delivering this. Even if you deliver, all the cells have to take it up, right? And even if the cells take up, there is a spread of RNAi. So it is each of those challenges are very complex. Those challenges have to be understood in detail before this can progress further. But nevertheless, in our next class, I will show you some more experiments and some hope, in terms of the clinic, that is possible, right? There are certain products that is likely to come out very quickly into the clinic for the benefit of patients. Okay, so we will stop our class at this point in time. Any questions? Let me know. So we will have our applied molecular biology test tomorrow. Is that right? Devanshi, was that the consensus?
Yes, sir.
Okay, okay. What time you all want to write the test?
Sorry, sir.
What time? What time?
Sir, we have FBLs at 10.
Okay,
After that, we are free.
okay.
After
Then I will
11, we
do.
are free.
Okay, okay. Then I will do one thing. Maybe we will start at 11:30 or so. If there is any
Sir,
change,
I
I will.
will.
If there is
Yes,
any
sir. Yeah.
change, I will let you know. Okay.
Okay, sir.
Okay.
What's the syllabus for tomorrow?
The first and the second modules, which talked about cloning, expression, enzymes involved in all these things. Okay.
Okay. Okay, thank you, sir.
Okay. So take care and God bless you all.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah.